My sister forced me to raise her baby. Family shamed me until I heroed the baby's secret thoughts. The church smelled of wilted lilies and stale perfume. Caleb stood at the foot of the altar, his hands clasped behind his back, knuckles white against the polished oak. The stained glass cast fractured rainbows across the marbly floor, but none of it touched him. He was a pillar of stone in a sea of pastel suits and murmuring guests that his sister, Elena, stood beside the groom, a man named Derek with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass and a smile that never reached his eyes. Elena's hand rested on Derek's arm, her diamond engagement ring catching the morning light. She was radiant. She was also a liar. We are regathered here today to celebrate the union of two souls. The priest droned, his voice a monotone hymn. Caleb's gaze drifted to the front row. His mother, Patricia, dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief. His father, Robert, sat rigid, his Melita bearing a mask for the contempt simmering beneath. They had not looked at Caleb once since he walked in. He had been the family's d'arc secret for 6 months now, the one who had ruined Elena's life by refusing to take her baby. The infant was in a bassinet at the side of the altar, swaddled in white silk. Her name was Lily. Caleb had changed her diapers at 3 a.m. when Elena was too exhausted. He had fed her formula with a trembling hand when she screamed for hours. He had walked her around the block at dawn, whispering promises he wasn't sure he could keep. And then Elena had met Derek, a hedge fund manager with a penthouse and a pedigree, and suddenly the baby was an inconvenience, a stain on her white dress. Caleb will take her, Patricia had announced at the family dinner. He has no career, no wife. He can dedicate himself to her. Caleb had said no. One word. That was all it took to become a pariah. Now. His mother's voice cut through the priest's droning. Shameful, she whispered, loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear. Refusing your own blood, leaving your sister to struggle. His father grunted in agreement. Never thought I'd raise a coway road. Caleb did not flinch. He had Leah rened to a mare his face years ago, in places his family never knew about, places with sand and blood and the crackle of radio static. He watched the ceremony progress, his eyes tracing the silver crucifix on the altar. It was a prop. Everything here was a prop. Elena turned to him suddenly, her smile a razor's edge. Brother, she said, her voice dripping with saccharine condescension. I want you to know I forgive you, for everything, for abandoning Lily, for your selfishness. Today is a new beginning, and I hold no grudges. The guests murmured approvingly. Someone clapped. Caleb's jaw tightened. He had not abandoned Lily. He had simply refused to be the family's scapegoat. He had paid for her formula, her diapers, her pediatrician visits, all in cash, all without receipts. He had done it because he could not stand to hear her cry, because when he held her, she stopped. She looked at him with those d'arc, bottomless eyes, and he felt something he had not felt in years, purpose. But no one knew that. To them, he was the deadbeat uncle. I forgive you too, Elena, Caleb said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. For everything. A ripple of shock went through the crowd. They expected him to grovel, to apologize, to crumple under the weight of their collective disdain. Instead, he stood straight, his shoulders red, his gaze locked on his sister's face. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Then she turned back to Derek, her laughter brittle. The priest continued. If anyone has any objection to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. Caleb felt the weight of 100 eyes on him. His mother's gla was a physical blow. His father's disgust was a palpable force. They derred him. They challenged him. They wanted him to make a scene, to confirm their low opinion of him. That he said nothing. But as the priest read them husband and wife, as the guests erupted in applause, Caleb heard a voice. Soft, clear, and impossibly articulate. It came from the bassinet. He doesn't know. Caleb froze. The applause faded to a distant roar. He turned his head, just a fraction. Tawa rd the infant. Lily's eyes were open, fixed on him. They were not the eyes of a 6-month-old. They were ancient, knowing. They held depths that no child should possess. The truth is in the safe. Behind the painting in the study. He doesn't know about the will. Caleb's heart slammed against his ribs. He looked around. No one else reacted. The guests were cheering, clapping Elena on the back, tossing rose petals in the air. His mother was crying tears of joy. His father was shaking Derek's hand with a firm, approving grip. No one heard it. No one but him. The baby blinked, and her tiny mouth curled into something that was not quite a smile. Then she gurgled, a perfectly normal infant sound, and the moment passed. But Caleb's mind was racing. The safe, the painting, the will. His grandfather's estate had been the subject of bitter family disputes for years. The old man had died suddenly, leaving behind a fortune in real estate and a cryptic set of instructions that no one could decipher. The family assumed the bulk of it had gone to charity or been squandered. They had accepted Elena's version of events because she was the golden child. Caleb had always suspected otherwise. He had seen the safe in the study, a heavy steel box bolted to the floor behind a Renaissance-era landscape. He had tried to crack it once, years ago, with a stethoscope and a prayer. He had failed. Now the answer was inside, and the baby knew. He forced himself to breathe, to remain still. The ceremony continued. The photographer herded the family outside for group shots. The reception hall buzzed with champagne and laughter. Caleb moved through the crowd like a ghost, his smile a thin veneer over the storm inside him. His mother cornered him in the champagne fountain. "You will hold Lily during the photos," she said, her tone brooking no argument. "It's the least you can do after what you put your sister through." "Of course," Caleb said. He took the baby from the nanny's arms, cradling her against his chest. Lily's warmth seeped through his shirt. Her little fingers curled around his thumb. Her voice came again, a whisper against his ear. "The combination is your mother's birthday, but she doesn't know it. She never knew." Caleb's blood turned to ice. His mother's birthday, the day she had been born. He had memorized it years ago, the date that marked the beginning of Patricia's reign of terror. It was also the date of his grandfather's death. The old man had died on the same day. The irony had always seemed cruel. Now it was the key. He held Lily a little tighter, his eyes scanning the room. Derek was at the bar, laughing with his groomsmen. Elena was posing for photos, her smile fixed and brittle. His parents were mingling with the guests, their faces masks of smug satisfaction that they had no idea. None of them. Caleb walked to the edge of the crowd, his steps measured, unhurried. He passed through the French doors into the house's interior. The study was down the hall, past the dining room, its door slightly ajar. He slipped inside, closing it behind him with a soft click. The painting was a massive oil of a stormy sea, ships tossed on waves of black and gold. Caleb lifted it from its hook, his arms straining against the weight. Behind it, the safe, a monolithic block of steel, its keypad gleaming in the dim light. He punched in the numbers. His mother's birthday, the date of his grandfather's death. The code that no one had ever guessed. The safe clicked open. Inside, a single document. A yellowed envelope, sealed with red wax. Caleb's hands trembled as he tore it open. He unfolded the paper, his eyes scanning the bold, Angolais script. It was his grandfather's will. Not the version the family had seen. The real one. It named Caleb as the sole heir to the entirety of the estate. Every property, every investment, every dollar. But there was a condition. Caleb had to prove his worth by a ring for the hidden legacy that the family had overlooked. Hidden legacy. Caleb frowned. The document referenced a separate trust, one that had been established in Lily's name. His grandfather had known about the baby before anyone else. He had set aside millions for her upbringing and education, with Caleb as the sole executor. But there was more. A note, scribbled in the margins. "Elena will try to take it. Gua wrote it with your life." Caleb's breath caught. He looked at Lily, still cradled in his arms. Her eyes were closed now, her breathing soft and even. She looked like any other infant, innocent and fragile, but he knew better that he folded the will, tucked it into his jacket pocket, and returned the painting to its hook. As he turned to leave, he heard footsteps in the hallway. Voices, raised in anger. "Where is he?" Elena's voice, sharp and shrill. "I need him for the photos. That useless brother of mine is probably hiding somewhere, feeling sorry for himself." "He's not hiding," his mother replied. "He's sulking. It's what he does best." Caleb eased the study door open, sliding into the hallway just as they rounded the corner. Elena's face reddened when she saw him. "There you are. Give me Lily. The photographer is waiting." "I'll hold her for the photos," Caleb said. "It's what you wanted, isn't it? A picture of the doting uncle?" Elena's eyes narrowed. "Fine, but don't drop her. She's worth more than you'll ever be." The words hit him like a slap, but Caleb smiled. He smiled because he had the will. He had the truth. And in 3 hours, when the reception was in full swing, he would present it to the entire family. He would show them what he was worth. He walked past them, Lily in his ARMS, and stepped into the GA den where the photographer was setting up his equipment. The sun was warm on his face. The roses were in bloom. The guests were laughing. And in his pocket, the truth was waiting. The GA den was a sea of white and gold. Folding chairs lined the manicured lawn, their ribbons fluttering in the breeze. A string quartet played a languid waltz, the notes rising above the murmur of conversation. Caleb stood at the edge of the crowd, Lily still in his ARMS, watching his family perform their perfect little pantomime. His mother was at the center, her RMS draped around Derek's shoulders, her voice sighing in that grating, performative tone she used when she wanted to be heroed. "Such a wonderful boy. Always thought he'd be the one to make my daughter happy." Derek smiled, his teeth too white, his hand resting on Elena's lower back. "It's an honor, Mrs. H.A. Regrove. Truly. Elena is everything I ever wanted." Elena beamed. She looked like a porcelain doll, painted and perfect, hollow inside. Her gaze drifted to Caleb, and the smile hardened into something brittle. "Caleb, why don't you join the family portrait? The photographer's been waiting." Caleb stepped forward, Lily adjusting in his ARMS as if she sensed his tension. The bassinet was nearby, but he didn't want to put her down. Not yet. Not when she had just handed him the key to his grandfather's secret. He took his place between his father and Derek. The photographer clicked away, his lens capturing the tableau of a happy family. But Caleb's mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about the will, about the hidden trust, about the note scrawled in his grandfather's hand. "Elena will try to take it. Gua wrote it with your life." He had to get to his CAR. He had to scan the document, send copies to his lawyer, ensure that Elena couldn't destroy it. But first, he had to endure the reception. He had to smile and nod and pretend he didn't know that every person in this GA den was either complicit in his sister's scheme or too blind to see the truth. His father leaned in, his breath sour with whiskey. "You made a scene, Relier. Refusing to hold the baby. What kind of man are you?" "The kind who knows his own mind," Caleb replied, his voice level. Robert's eyes flashed. "Your grandfather would be ashamed. He raised you better." "Did he?" Caleb asked, a hint of steel creeping into his tone. "Because from what I remember, he gave Elena everything. The estate, the investments, all of it. And I got nothing." "You got nothing because you deserved nothing," Robert hissed. "You're a disappointment, Caleb. A failure. You couldn't even keep a job at a firm that your uncle owned." "What does that say about you?" It said that Caleb had walked away from $1 million salary to pursue something more meaningful. But his father didn't know that. No one did. They only saw what they wanted to see. A loser who refused to play their game. Caleb smiled. "I'm doing just fine, Dad. Don't worry about me." The photographer called for another pose. Caleb shifted, turning slightly so that Lily's face was visible. Her eyes opened, and her voice whispered in his mind again. "She's coming. Elena. She knows you took the will." Caleb's pulse quickened. He scanned the crowd, searching for his sister. She was making her way through the guests, her champagne flute held high, her smile fixed. But there was a predatory glint in her eyes, a hunger that he had seen before, when she had cornered him in the kitchen 6 months ago and demanded he take the baby. "I can't do it, Caleb," she had sobbed, her mascara running in black rivulets. "I can't raise her alone. Derek won't marry me if I have a child. Please, you're my brother. You have to help me." He had almost said yes. He had almost given in. But then he had seen the flicker of calculation in her eyes, the way she had glanced at the door as if she were already planning her escape. And he had said no. He had refused to be her sacrificial lamb. Now she was coming for him again. "Caleb," she said, her voice honeyed and sharp. "I need to speak with you, privately." He handed Lily to the nanny, a young woman with tired eyes and a nervous smile. "Take her to the nursery. I'll be there shortly." Elena led him through the French doors, down a corridor lined with portraits of ancestors he had never met. She stopped in the study, the very room where he had found the will. The painting was still in place. The safe was closed. But she knew. He could see it in the way her fingers twitched at her sides, the way her eyes root to the painting and then back to him. "What did you do?" she asked, her voice low and dangerous. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me." Her tone sharpened, cracking the veneer of civility. "I saw you come in here. You were in here for 10 minutes. What did you take?" "Your paranoia is showing," Caleb said, leaning against the desk, his arms crossed. "Maybe you should get some rest. It's been a long day." "I'm not paranoid," she snapped. "I'm cautious. There are things in this house that belong to me. Things that you have no right to touch. Like the will." The word hung in the air between them, heavy and jaw-ridged. Elena's face went pale, then flushed with anger. "You found it." "It was always there," Caleb said. "Grandfather left it for me. The real one. The one you and Mom and Dad tried to hide." Elena's composure crumbled. She lunged at him, her nails raking across his arm, drawing blood. But Caleb was faster. He caught her wrist, his grip iron, and twisted just enough to make her gasp. "Let go of me," she hissed. "I will," Caleb said, his voice cold. "When you tell me why you lied to the family about the trust." "The trust is a lie," she spat. "Grandfather was senile. He didn't know what he was doing. That document you found is a forgery." "Is it?" Caleb pulled out his phone, showing her the photograph he had taken of the will. "Because I already sent this to my lawyer. He's verifying it as we speak. If it's real, and I suspect it is, then you and Mom and Dad are going to have a lot of explaining to do." Elena's eyes widened. She yanked her hand free, stumbling back, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "You can't do this to me. I'm the golden child. I'm the one who made this family what it is. You're nothing. You've always been nothing." "Maybe," Caleb said, "but I'm nothing with a piece of paper that says I own everything. And that's going to ruin your perfect little life." He turned and walked out of the study, leaving Elena standing there, trembling with rage. She shouted something after him, a string of obscenities that echoed down the hallway. But he didn't stop. He had to find Lily. He had to keep her safe. The nursery was on the 2nd floor, a pastel room filled with stuffed animals and mobile toys. The nanny was there, rocking Lily in a chair by the window. She looked up as Caleb entered, her expression worried. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Everything's fine," Caleb said, taking Lily from her arms. "You can go. I'll take it from here." The nanny hesitated, then nodded and slipped out the door. Caleb sat in the rocking chair, Lily cradled against his chest. Her eyes were open, those dark, bottomless eyes, and her voice was a whisper in his mind. "He's coming. The man with the SCAR. He works for Derek." Caleb's grip tightened. "Who?" "The man with the SCAR, Lily repeated. "He's in the garden. He has a gun. He's waiting for you." Caleb's heart thudded in his chest. He stood, still holding Lily, and moved to the window. Through the glass, he could see the guests mingling in the Reden. And there, at the edge of the crowd, stood a man in a d'arc suit. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. His hand was tucked inside his jacket, and his eyes were fixed on the house. Caleb knew him. He had seen him before in a different life, a different world. The man was a former associate of Derek's, a fixer with a reputation for violence. "The baby is the key," Lily whispered. "You need to protect her. She has everything." "What do you mean?" Caleb asked, his voice rely a breath. "I can see things," Lily said. "I can hear things. The man with the scar, he was hired to take me away. He's gonna grab me during the toast. He's gonna try to steal me and the will, and then they'll pin it on you." Caleb's mind raced. The toast. The reception was about to begin. The guests would be distracted, their eyes on Elena and Derek, their glasses raised. It was the perfect moment for a kidnapping. "I won't let that happen," Caleb said. He set Lily down gently in the bassinet, grabbing a blanket to wrap around her. Then he moved to the door, his body tense and ready. "Where are you going?" Lily asked. "I'm going to fix this. Stay here. Stay quiet. Don't make a sound." He slipped out of the nursery, his feet silent on the repeated floor. The hallway was empty, but he could hear the murmur of voices from the Reden. The toast would begin in minutes. He descended the stairs, his hand brushing against the revolver he kept tucked in his waistband. It was a habit from his past, a relic of the life he had abandoned. But today it might be the only thing that saved him. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he saw Derek's mother, a silver-haired woman with a diamond choker, emerging from the reception hall. Her eyes met his, and her smile was cold. "The prodigal son," she said, "finally gracing us with his presence." "Where's Derek?" Caleb asked, his voice flat. "He's in the Reden. Prep a ring for the toast." She paused, her gaze sharpening. "Why do you look like you're about to kill someone?" Caleb didn't answer. He pushed past her, striding through the reception hall, his eyes scanning the crowd. He spotted the SCA red man or the BAR, his hands still inside his jacket. Elena was on the other side of the Reden, her arm linked with Derek's, her smile a mask of triumph. The toast was about to begin. Caleb moved through the crowd, his steps unhurried, his eyes fixed on the SCA red man. He was close now, close enough to see the glint of metal beneath the jacket. The man noticed him, his eyes narrowed, and he began to move, cutting through the crowd toward the house. He was going for Lily. Caleb intercepted him just as he reached the French doors. "Not today," he said, his voice low and dangerous. The SCA red man's fist came up, fast and brutal. Caleb ducked, throwing his weight into the man's midsection. They crashed into a table of champagne glasses, shattering glass and drawing screams from the guests. The man tried to pull his gun, but Caleb was on him, his fingers locked around the wrist, slamming it against the marble floor. The revolver skittered away, to sap a ring under a buffet table. "Who sent you?" Caleb growled, his forearm against the man's throat. The man's eyes bulged. "You're dead," he rasped. "You're all dead." Caleb didn't have time to question him further. He heard his father's voice, sharp and commanding. "What is the meaning of this?" He looked up. The entire Reden was staring at him. Elena's face was a mask of horror and fury. Derek's was cold, calculating. His mother was clutching her arliss, her mouth open in a silent scream. Caleb released the SCA red man and stood, brushing the glass from his suit. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the will, holding it high for all to see. "Since you're all so curious," he said, his voice ringing across the Reden, "let me show you what I found in the study. The real will, grandfather's will. And it's not what you think." The crowd fell silent. The string quartet had stopped playing. The only sound was the wind in the roses and the distant hum of traffic. "You lied to me," Caleb said, his eyes fixed on his sister. "You lied to all of us. Grandfather left everything to me, and he left a trust for Lily." A trust that you tried to steal. Elena's face went white. Derek's smile vanished. This is a forgery, Elena said, her voice shaking. He's a liar. He's always been a liar. We'll see what the courts have to say, Caleb replied. He pulled out his phone, showing the photograph of the will, the lawyer's contact information blazing on the screen. I've already taken the first steps. This is over, Elena. All of it. He turned away from the stunned crowd, his heart pounding, and walked back toward the house. Lily was waiting for him, and somewhere, deep in her ancient eyes, he could see a smile. The hallway stretched before him, a corridor of judgmental portraits and flickering sconces. Caleb's footsteps echoed in the silence, a rhythm of defiance that reverberated off the walls. Behind him, the Jardin had erupted into chaos. His mother's shrill protests, his father's booming commands, Derek's COOL, measured lies weaving through the clamor like a serpent. He didn't look back as he reached the nursery and pushed the door open. The bassinet was empty. Lily was gone. Cold dread seized his chest. He spun, his eyes rooting across the room, the window, the closet, the rocking chair. Nothing. The nanny was gone. The stuffed animal's sta red with glassy eyes. The mobile spun lazily in the breeze from the open window. And then he heard it. A soft coong from behind the changing table. He crossed the room in 3 strides, his body tensed for a fight. But it was just Lily, lying on the floor, her tiny fists waving in the air. She had rolled out of her bassinet, somehow without making a sound. Her eyes met his, and her voice whispered in his mind. They moved me. The nanny. She tried to take me out the window. I bit her. Caleb's mouth twitched. He knelt down, SOO ping her into his ARMS. His heart slowing to a more manageable rhythm. You bit her. HARD, Lily said, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. She dropped me. Then she ran. She won't be back. He glanced at the window. The nanny had apparently been hired for more than just childcare. Derek's reach was longer than he had anticipated. But the SCA red man was neutralized, and the nanny was gone. For now, Lily was safe. I need to get you out of here, Caleb said, his voice low. This place is a trap. There's another way, Lily said. The passage behind the bookshelf in the study. Grandfather used it to escape when grandmother was angry. It leads to the GA rage. Caleb blinked. How do you know about that? I see things, Lily said. I remember things. Grandfather's memories in my head. He gave them to me. Caleb didn't have time to unpack the implications of that statement. He wrapped Lily in the blanket, tucked her against his chest, and moved toward the door. His footsteps were silent, his senses alert. The chaos in the Jardin was fading, replaced by the low murmur of conspiracy. They were planning something. Elena and Derek and his parents. They were plotting his downfall. He reached the study and closed the door behind him. The bookshelf was a towering edifice of leather-bound volumes and gilt-edged pages. He ran his fingers along the spines, searching for the mechanism. Nothing. No latch. No hidden button. Push the third book from the left on the second shelf, Lily said. The one with the red spine. He did. The bookshelf swung inward with a soft groan, revealing a narrow passage filled with dust and shadows. Caleb stepped inside, the shelf closing behind him with a resonant click. He was plunged into darkness. Keep going, Lily urged. Straight ahead, about 30 feet. He walked, his free hand tracing the cold stone wall, his AR straining for any sound. The passage was tight, rely wide enough for his shoulders. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and forgotten secrets at the end. A metal door. A handle. He turned it, and the door swung open into a cavernous garage lined with vintage CRS and dusty tools. A single fluorescent light flickered overhead. Caleb exhaled. The passage had worked. He was out of the house. The garage was attached to the main building, but it had its own entrance to the driveway. He could hear the faint sound of sirens in the distance, probably the local police responding to the disturbance. But he didn't have time to wait for them. He had to move. He had to secure the will and protect Lily. He crossed the garage, his footsteps echoing on the concrete floor. His car was parked near the exit, a black sedan with tinted windows. He reached for the handle. "Don't," Lily said. "There's someone behind the car." Caleb froze. He listened. The garage was silent, but he could hear it now. A soft exhalation, the scrape of a shoe against concrete. He turned slowly, his hand moving to the revolver in his waistband. "Come out," he said, his voice calm. "I know you're there." A figure emerged from behind the sedan. It was Derek, his face pale and twisted with rage. In his hand was a heavy wrench. His suit was spattered with champagne and glass. "You think you can just walk away?" Derek asked, his voice trembling with fury. "You think you can ruin everything I've built?" "I think you overestimate your importance," Caleb said. "This was never about you. It was about the money. And now it's about Lily." Derek laughed, a bitter sound. "Lily is just a baby, a pawn in a game that's bigger than you can imagine. You're a fool, Caleb. You always were." "I'm the fool who has the will," Caleb said. "And the trust. And the lawyer on speed dial. What do you have?" "Derek, a pregnant wife who lies to you and a fixer who's currently in a chokehold on your patio." Derek's face reddened. He lunged, swinging the wrench in a wild arc. Caleb stepped aside, shoving Lily behind him, and ducked the blow. The wrench crashed against the hood of the sedan, leaving a deep dent. Caleb used the moment to close the distance. He drove his knee into Derek's stomach, then slammed the heel of his palm into the man's jaw. Derek staggered back, dropping the wrench. Caleb kicked it away and pressed his forearm against Derek's throat, pinning him against the chair. "You're going to tell me everything?" Caleb said, his voice ice. "Who hired you? Who's behind the kidnapping?" Derek gasped, his eyes bulging. "Elena. It was Elena. She planned it all. The baby was never yours. She was grandfather's beneficiary. He left the trust to her, but only if she raised Lily. She didn't want to. She wanted to get rid of her. And she wanted to pin it on you." Caleb's grip loosened, just slightly. "Grandfather didn't leave the trust to me." "No," Derek wheezed. "He left it to Lily, with you as the executor. But Elena wanted control. She needed to get rid of Lily to get the money. And she needed you to take the fall." Caleb's mind reeled. The pieces clicked into place. Elena had tried to offload Lily on him from the start, not because she was a struggling single mother, but because she needed to make him seem like the unstable one. The one who would lose the baby. The one who would be arrested. He shoved Derek away, his thoughts spinning. "Where is Elena now?" "On the patio," Derek said, rubbing his throat. "Trying to sell the story to the police. She's going to say you tried to steal Lily and attacked the nanny." Caleb laughed. A cold, humorless sound. "She's predictable. I'll give her that." He turned, Lily still cradled against his chest, and walked to his car. He opened the back door, strapped Lily into the car seat, and climbed into the driver's seat. The engine ROA read to life. He reversed out of the garage, his eyes fixed on the REA review mirror. Derek was in the garage door, shouting something, but Caleb couldn't hear him. He didn't want to. He pulled onto the driveway, tires squealing, and drove away from the house. The police were heading toward the estate, their lights flashing. Caleb passed them, his face impassive, his hands steady on the wheel. They wouldn't stop him. They didn't have a reason to. He drove for an hour, winding through back roads and suburban streets, until he reached a safe house in the outskirts of town. It was a small, nondescript cottage, hidden behind a thicket of pine trees. He had bought it years ago using cash and a shell company, a secret even his family didn't know about. He ride Lily inside, setting her on a blanket on the floor. The cottage was sparsely furnished, but it had electricity and running water and a secure line to his lawyer. "I need to make a call," he said. "Stay here. Don't move." Lily read up at him, her eyes ancient and knowing. "She's already on her way. Elena. She's bringing the police." They're going to arrest you. Caleb's jaw tightened. Let them try. He dialed his lawyer's number, his fingers steady despite the adrenaline. The lawyer answered on the second ring. Mr. H.A. Grove, the lawyer said, his voice clipped. I've verified the will. It's legitimate, but there's a complication. The trust is set up differently than we thought. It's not a simple inheritance. It's a conditional transfer. What conditions? Caleb asked. The baby has to survive to the age of 18, the lawyer said. If anything happens to her before then, the entire estate reverts to Elena. Caleb's blood went cold. Elena planned all of this. She tried to kidnap Lily. She tried to kill her. Then you need to prove that, the lawyer said. Otherwise, she'll get everything, and you'll be left with nothing. Caleb ended the call, his mind racing. He looked at Lily, still sta ring up at him from the blanket. She was a target, a liability, a weapon in a war he hadn't asked to fight. But she was also the key. The only way to win was to protect her. There's a way, Lily said, her voice soft. A way to stop her. How? Caleb asked. Grandfather left a second document. A recording. It's in the safe behind the painting, the one you opened. You didn't find it because it was hidden in a false panel. Caleb frowned. I didn't see any panel. It's there, Lily insisted. You have to go back. You have to get the recording before she destroys it. Caleb sta read at her, 1,000 questions burning in his mind. How did she know all of this? What was she? But he didn't ask. He didn't have time. He stood, his body tense. I'll go back tonight, after the RK. Take me with you, Lily said. I can help. No, Caleb said. It's too dangerous. You're not going alone, she said, her voice firm. I have to be there. Grandfather's memories are re-fading. If I'm not there, you'll miss it. Caleb hesitated. Then he nodded. He packed a bag, strapped Lily into a CA Ryer, and slipped out into the night. The drive back to the estate was silent, the road illuminated by the pale glow of the moon. The cottage was miles behind them, but the weight of the journey pressed down on Caleb like a physical force. He parked the CA a quarter mile from the house, concealed behind a thicket of trees. He hiked through the woods, Lily on his chest, until he reached the back jardin. The house was to RK, but the windows gleamed with the faint light of hidden security systems. Police cars were still on the driveway, but they seemed to be packing up. The chaos was over. Caleb slipped through a broken window on the east side of the house, his movements silent and precise. He crept through the RK corridors, Lily's breath soft against his neck. They reached the study. The painting was still in place. Caleb lifted it, his RMS straining, and opened the safe. He ran his fingers along the back panel, searching for the hidden compartment. Nothing. He pressed her rider, and the panel clicked open. Inside was a small metal case. He opened it. A USB drive. And a note. Play this in the presence of my son and my daughter. The note read, let the truth set them free. Caleb pocketed the drive and closed the safe. He was about to leave when he heard it. Footsteps. Outside the door. Elena's voice, sharp and triumphant. I knew you'd come back. The door burst open, and Elena stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 uniformed police officers. Her smile was a dagger's edge. You're under arrest for kidnapping, she said. The study was bathed in the dim glow of a single desk lamp. Caleb stood with his back to the bookshelf, Lily strapped to his chest, the USB drive cold against his palm. Elena's silhouette filled the doorway, her white dress now smudged with dirt and champagne, her smile a wound that refused to heal. 2 officers stepped past her, their hands resting on their belts. One was tall with a crew cut, the other shorter with a wee face. They looked at Caleb, then at the baby, then back at Elena. This is the man, Elena said, her voice trembling with practiced outrage. He broke into my home. He tried to steal my daughter. He attacked my husband and my nanny. Caleb didn't move. His eyes locked on his sister, reading the lie in every twitch of her lips. Your daughter, you signed her over to me 6 months ago. I have the papers. Elena's mask cracked, just for a second. Those papers were temporary. A misunderstanding. I never meant. You meant everything? Caleb cut her off. He turned to the officers, his voice calm, measured. She abandoned this child. I raised her. I paid for her CA. And tonight, she tried to have her kidnapped by a hired thug. Ask Derek about the SCA red man in the GA Reden. Ask the nanny why she tried to flee out the window. The shorter officer's brow furrowed. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. I'm not going anywhere, Caleb said. He held up the USB drive. But before you decide who to believe, I suggest you watch this. It's a recording left by my grandfather. It explains everything. Elena's face went white. That's a forgery. He's making it up. He's desperate. Caleb stepped toward the desk, his movements unhurried. He found a laptop tucked in the drawer, the same one he had used years ago to track his grandfather's investments. He plugged in the drive, his fingers steady. The screen flickered. A video file app read. He clicked it. The face of his grandfather filled the monitor. The old man was gaunt, his skin papery, his eyes still sharp with the cunning that had built his empire. He was sitting in the study, the same study, the painting visible behind him. If you're watching this, the old man said, his voice crackling with age, then I'm dead, and my family has already ring itself apart. I knew they would. That's why I made this recording. Elena took a step forward, her hand reaching for the laptop. Turn it off. Turn it off now. The taller officer grabbed her arm. Ma'am. Let him play it. The old man continued. Elena is my eldest granddaughter. She's clever, ambitious, and utterly ruthless. She manipulated me for years, convincing me to change my will to cut Caleb out. She wanted everything, and she almost got it. But I saw through her. I saw the way she treated Lily, the way she treated her own brother. She's not fit to raise that child. She's not fit to inherit a dime. Elena's breath came in ragged gasps. He's lying. He was senile. He didn't know what he was saying. The trust one set up for Lily is real, the old man said. But there's a condition. Lily must be raised by someone who loves her. Someone who will protect her. I chose Caleb. He's the only one in this family with any integrity. He's the only one who deserves my legacy. The video paused. Caleb's grandfather leaned forward, his eyes boring into the camera. And if Elena tries to take Lily, if she tries to harm her or frame her brother, I've left a second document. A confession. It details every lie she told me, every scheme she ran. It's with my lawyer. He'll release it on my death if certain conditions are met. The video ended. The screen went dark. Silence filled the study. The officers exchanged glances. Elena's composure crumbled entirely. She lunged for the laptop, but the taller officer caught her, pinning her RMS behind her back. Ma'am, you need to calm down, he said. She's the one who's lying, Elena shrieked, her voice cracking. He's a thief, a kidnapper. He stole my baby. My baby. Caleb gently unstrapped Lily from his chest and held her up, her tiny face peaceful, her eyes watching her aunt with an unnerving stillness. She's not your baby, Caleb said. She never was. You gave her up. You tried to use her as a BA regaining chip. And now you're trying to destroy me to cover your tracks. The shorter officer stepped forward, his notepad out. Mr. H.A. Regrove, we're going to need a copy of that recording. Of course, Caleb said. I also have the original will, and the signed custody papers, and a statement from the nanny, who I suspect will be very eager to talk once she realizes she's not the one facing Cha Ridges. Elena's eyes root to the door. She was looking for an escape, but the officers had her boxed in. Her serifully constructed plan was collapsing around her. You can't do this to me, she whispered, her voice hollow. I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister the moment you tried to have Lily taken, Caleb said. You stopped being my sister when you accused me of kidnapping. You stopped being my sister when you looked at me and saw nothing but an obstacle. The taller officer Clea read his throat. Mr. H.A. Regrove, we're going to take Ms. H.A. Regrove in for questioning. We'll need you to come to the station as well to provide your statement. I'll be there, Caleb said. But first, I need to get Lily settled somewhere safe. He turned away from Elena, from the wreckage of her lies, and walked out of the study. The hallway was empty now, the guests long gone, the house silent except for the distant hum of police radios. He reached the nursery and set Lily down on the changing table. Her eyes were open, watching him with that ancient, knowing gaze. "You did good," she said, her voice soft in his mind. "He was proud of you, grandfather. He always believed in you." Caleb's throat tightened. "I wish I could have told him that." "He knows," Lily said. "He always knew." Caleb finished changing her diaper, then wrapped her in a fresh blanket and ride her downstairs. The officers were waiting with Elena, who was now handcuffed, her face streaked with TRS and mascara. "I'll have my lawyer contact you," Caleb said to the officers. "I'll provide everything you need." The shorter officer nodded. "Thank you, Mr. H.A. Regrove. We appreciate your cooperation." Elena Gla read at him as they led her out, her eyes burning with hate. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You think you've won, you've just sta root a war." Caleb watched them load her into the squad car, her white dress crumpled, her diamond ring glinting in the moonlight. He felt nothing, not pity, not anger, just the cold, steady certainty that he had done the right thing. He climbed into his own car, Lily in the back seat, and drove away from the estate. The road stretched before him, dark and empty, the headlights cutting a path through the night. "Where are we going?" Lily asked. "Somewhere safe," Caleb said. "Somewhere no one will find us." He glanced in the REA review mirror. Lily was smiling, that strange, knowing smile. And in the distance, the lights of his family's mansion grew smaller and smaller until they disappeared entirely. That the cottage was a fortress of silence. Caleb had spent the night checking every window, every door, every possible point of entry. He had reinforced the locks, covered the windows with blackout curtains, and set a series of tripwires along the perimeter. Old habits. Habits that had kept him alive in places where the sun burned and the sand swallowed men whole. Lily slept in a bassinet he had found in the attic, a relic from the previous owner. Her breathing was soft and even, her tiny chest rising and falling in a rhythm that should have been comforting. But Caleb couldn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, the USB drive in his hand, the will spread out before him under the dim glow of a single bulb. The recording had been a weapon, a devastating one. But it wasn't the end. Elena was in custody, but her reach was long. Derek was still out there. His parents were still out there. And somewhere, in the shadows, the SCA red man was licking his wounds and waiting for another chance. Caleb's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. A text from an unknown number. "You think you can hide, she'll find you. She always finds what's hers." He didn't respond. He deleted the message and powered off the phone. They were tracking him. Of course they were. His family had resources, money, connections. They wouldn't stop until they had Lily, until they had the will, until they had erased every trace of his victory. He stood and walked to the window, rooting the curtain just an inch. The forest was dark, the trees swaying in the wind. He watched for a long moment, his eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Nothing. But he knew they were out there. He could feel it, a primal instinct honed by years of danger. "Someone's coming." Lily's voice cut through the silence. Caleb turned. She was awake, her eyes open, fixed on the ceiling. Her voice was calm, almost detached. "Two of them. They're in the trees. They have rifles with scopes. They're waiting for you to come out." Caleb's jaw tightened. "How do you know?" "I see them. Through the walls. Through the dark. I can see everything." Her gaze shifted to him, and for a moment, he saw something ancient behind those infant eyes. Something vast and cold and unyielding. "They're not here for me. They're here for you. Elena wants you dead. If you're dead, the will becomes contested." She can claim you abandoned Lily. She can take everything. Caleb moved to the bassinet. Seo ping her up. Her wa RMTH seeped through his shirt. A fragile anchor in the storm. Then we can't stay here. There's a tunnel under the floorboe RDS, Lily said. It leads to a root cellar are about 200 RDS east. From there you can reach the main road. There's a truck parked behind the old BARN. Keys a re under the mat. Caleb Sta read at her. How do you know about a truck? I told you. I see things. Grandfather's memories. He used this place too. He hid here when he was young, when his own family turned against him. Caleb didn't question it. He moved to the corner of the room, prying up a loose floorboe road. Beneath it, a d'arc opening. A ladder descended into the EARTH. He strapped Lily to his chest, grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, and climbed down. The tunnel was narrow, the walls lined with damp artichoke roots. He crawled four-way RD, his knees scraping against the ground, the flashlight casting long shadows ahead of him. The air was cold and heavy with the smell of clay and decay. He RD them above him. Voices, footsteps, the creak of the cottage door opening. See RSH every room, a man's voice said. Find him. Find the baby. Do not leave until they're dead. Caleb moved faster, his RT pounding. The tunnel curved Shah RPLY, then opened into a La Ridger space. A root cellar are. Shelves of canned goods lined the walls, their labels faded and peeling. A trapdoor was set into the ceiling above him. He climbed the wooden steps and pushed it open. The night air hit him cold and Shah RP. He emerged behind a thicket of bushes, the old BARN visible through the trees. He ran, his feet silent on the damp grass. Lily pressed against him. The BARN was decrepit, its roof sagging, its doors hanging on rusted hinges. But behind it, just as Lily had said, was a battered pickup truck. The keys were under the mat. He estia root the engine. The ROA are loud in the quiet night. He didn't wait. He slammed the accelerator. The truck lurching four-way RD, kicking up mud and gravel. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the winding dirt road that led to the highway. In his REA review mirror, he saw them. Two figures emerging from the cottage, rifles raised. Shots rang out, the bullets whizzing past the truck, punching holes in the tailgate. Caleb swerved, the tires skidding, and then he was on the main road, the speedometer climbing. He drove for miles, his knuckles white on the wheel, his breath coming in short, controlled bursts. Lily was silent in the Sia Ryer, her eyes closed, her voice a distant whisper in his mind. They're not following. You lost them. Caleb slowed the truck, pulling onto a gravel shoulder. He killed the engine and sat there, the silence pressing in from all sides. His hands were shaking. He clenched them into fists, forcing the tremors to stop. We can't keep running, he said, his voice hoa arasi. They'll find us eventually. They have resources. They'll track the truck. Then we stop running, Lily said. We go to the lawyer, the one grandfather trusted. He has the confession. He can release it. Caleb frowned. The confession Elena mentioned. It's more than that, Lily said. It's a full account of everything she did. Every lie, every scheme, every person she bribed or threatened. If it's released, she'll never recover. She'll lose everything. Her reputation, her freedom, her family. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. You knew about this all along. I knew you would find it, Lily said. I knew you would do the right thing. That's why grandfather chose you. Caleb Sta root the engine again, the truck rumbling to life. He turned onto the highway, heading Tawa RD the city. The sky was beginning to lighten, the first hints of dawn painting the horizon in shades of gray and gold. His phone buzzed again. He had turned it back on, needing to check his messages. A new text from another unknown numbered. Your mother is at the police station. She's filing a missing persons report. She's telling them you kidnapped Lily and attacked your sister. The police are looking for you now, too. Tick-tock. Caleb's grip on the wheel tightened. His mother. She had always been Elena's ally, her enabler. She would do anything to protect her precious golden child, even if it meant destroying her other son. She's lying, Lily said. But the police won't know that. Not until they hear the confession. Then we need to get to the lawyer before they find us, Caleb said. He pushed the accelerator hard, the truck speeding through the empty streets. The city rose before him, a skyline of glass and steel. The lawyer's office was in the financial district, a high-rise building that had been in his grandfather's portfolio for decades. Caleb parked in a garage 2 blocks away, Lily in his ARMS, and walked the rest of the way. The lobby was empty, the security guard nodding off at his desk. Caleb slipped past him and took the elevator to the 37th floor. The lawyer's office was at the end of a long hallway, its door frosted glass, the name H.A. Risen and Associates etched in gold. He knocked. The door opened. An elderly man with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses stood there. He looked at Caleb, then at Lily, and a slow smile spread across his face. "You must be Caleb," he said. "I've been expecting you. Your grandfather told me you'd come." Caleb stepped inside, the door closing behind him. The office was cluttered with books and files, a heavy oak desk dominating the center of the room. The lawyer gestured for him to sit. "I have the confession," the lawyer said. "It's been sealed for 6 years. Your grandfather instructed me to release it only in the event of a custody dispute involving Lily. I'd say that qualifies." "Release it," Caleb said. "Release it now." The lawyer nodded, turning to his computer. "It's already uploaded to the servers. I just need to hit send. Once I do, it goes to every major news outlet, every law enforcement agency, every member of your family." Caleb watched as the lawyer's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Do it." The lawyer pressed the key. The screen flashed. "It's done." Caleb exhaled, the weight lifting from his shoulders. He looked down at Lily, still strapped to his chest. Her eyes were open, that ancient, knowing gaze fixed on him. "Now we wait," she said. And in the silence of the lawyer's office, the hunt finally began to turn. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, the confession was everywhere. Every screen in the city flickered with the face of Caleb's grandfather. His voice crackling through speakers, his words slicing through the carefully constructed lies of the H.A. Regrove family. The headlines screamed, "Estate heiress exposed in shocking custody scheme," and "Family scandal. Sister framed brother for kidnapping." Caleb watched it unfold from the lawyer's office. Lily asleep in his ARMS. The lawyer, H.A. Risen, had brewed a pot of coffee and set up a second monitor so Caleb could follow the coverage. The phone rang constantly, calls from reporters, from law enforcement, from distant relatives who had suddenly decided they were on his side. "Your mother is on the news," H.A. Risen said, his voice dry. "She's trying to spin it." Caleb looked up. His mother stood on the steps of the police station, a microphone thrust in her face, her eyes red and puffy. She was crying, but there was a hard edge to her voice. "My son is a troubled young man," she said. "He's always been jealous of his sister. He made up these lies to hurt her. This recording is a forgery. I swear it on my mother's grave." A reporter shouted back, "Mrs. H.A. Regrove, the recording includes specific financial details that only your father could have known. How do you explain that?" His mother faltered. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Then she turned and fled back into the station, the cameras following her every step. "They're not buying it," H.A. Risen said. "The public loves a good takedown, and this one has everything. Betrayal, family drama, a baby, a fortune. You're going to be a celebrity by the end of the week." Caleb shook his head. "I don't want celebrity. I want Lily to be safe." "She is safe," H.A. Risen said. "For now. But Elena's been released on bail. Derek is still out there. And your pa rents a rent going to give up without a fight. They've hired the best lawyers money can buy." Caleb's phone buzzed. A text from his father. The first one he had received in years. "You've made a mistake, son. You've declared red war on your own blood. There's no coming back from this." Caleb Sta read at the message. He felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a cold, hollow emptiness where his love for his father used to live. He typed back a single word. "Watch me." He tossed the phone on the desk. "How long until the police make an arrest?" "They'll need to verify the recording first," H.A. Risen said. "But it's already creating a massive stir. Internal Affairs is reopening the investigation into Elena's claims. The officers who arrested you are being questioned. It's only a matter of time." Caleb looked at Lily. Her eyes were open now, watching him with that unsettling calm. "What do you see?" he asked. "Derek is planning something," she said. "He's desperate. He knows Elena is going to drag him down with her. He's going to try to cut a deal with the prosecutors. He'll offer to testify against her in exchange for immunity." Caleb's eyes narrowed. "That's a SMART move. Too SMART for him." "He's not SMART," Lily said. "But he's SCA Red. SCA Red people do unpredictable things." Caleb turned to H.A. Risen. "Can you reach out to the prosecutors? Tell them Derek might come four-way road. They need to be ready." H.A. Risen nodded and picked up the phone. His voice was low and measured as he spoke to someone on the other end. Caleb stood and walked to the window, looking down at the city below. The sun was high now, casting long shadows across the streets. Somewhere out there, his family was scrambling. They were losing, and they knew it. An hour later, the news broke. Derek had turned himself in. He was at the district attorney's office, giving a full statement. The cameras SWR'd the building, reporters shouting questions as he walked inside, his face pale, his suit rumpled. "He's throwing her under the bus," H.A. Risen said. "He's admitting to everything. The kidnapping plot, the hired thug, the false accusations. He's saying Elena orchestrated it all." Caleb's lips curved into a cold smile. She trusted him. She actually thought he'd stand by her. "She doesn't know how to trust anyone," Lily said. "That's why she loses everyone." The phone rang again. H.A. Risen answered, listened for a moment, then handed the receiver to Caleb. "It's the district attorney." Caleb took the phone. "This is Caleb H.A. Regrove." "Mr. H.A. Regrove," the DA said, his voice crisp and professional. "I've reviewed the recording and the corroborating evidence from Derek's testimony. We're issuing a warrant for Elena's arrest. She's facing multiple charges: conspiracy to commit kidnapping, fraud, filing false police reports. She's looking at serious prison time." "What about my parents?" Caleb asked. "We're investigating them as well," the DA said. "Your mother's statements to the press constitute obstruction of justice. Your father's financial records are being examined for ties to the conspiracy. They're not off the hook." Caleb nodded, though he knew the DA couldn't see him. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," the DA said. "This is far from over. There will be a trial. There will be appeals. Elena's lawyers already preparing a defense. But I wanted you to know, the truth is out, and it's not going back in the box." The call ended. Caleb set the phone down. He felt a strange sense of peace, a stillness that had been absent for months. The battle was not over, but the tide had turned. He turned to H.A. Risen. "Can I take Lily to the park? She's been pet up for too long." H.A. Risen smiled. "I think that's a wonderful idea. Just stay in the public eye. The more people see you with Lily, the harder it is for Elena to spin her lies." Caleb strapped Lily back into the car and walked out of the office. The elevator ride was silent, the lobby crowded with security guards and curious onlookers. He walked past them, his head held high, and stepped out into the sunlight. The park was a block away, a small green space sandwiched between high rises. Children played on the swings, their laughter echoing off the concrete. Mothers pushed strollers, their faces peaceful. Caleb found a bench in the shade and sat down, Lily in his lap. She was quiet for a long moment, her eyes scanning the park. Then she spoke, her voice soft in his mind. "She's watching us." Caleb didn't react. He kept his eyes on the children, his posture relaxed. Where? The building across the street. Third floor. Second window from the left. Caleb casually glanced up, as if admiring the architecture. He saw it. A figure, rely visible behind the glass. A woman. Her silhouette was familiar, even from this distance. Elena. She had been released on bail, but she was supposed to be under house arrest. She had violated her terms just by being there. And now she was watching him. Watching Lily. Caleb slowly reached for his phone, his movements unhurried. He dialed H.A. Risen's number. "She's here," he said. "Across the street. Third floor. She's watching us." "I'm calling the police," H.A. Risen said. "Don't move. Don't confront her. Let them handle it." Caleb ended the call and continued to watch the children. He felt a strange calm settle over him. Elena had made her move. She had shown her hand. And now she would pay the price. He looked down at Lily. She was smiling, that same unsettling smile. "She's SCA red now," Lily said. "She knows she's losing. She's going to do something stupid." "Let her," Caleb said. "We'll be ready." The sirens STA route a few minutes later. For patrol, CARS pulled up to the building across the street. Officers poured out, their weapons drawn. Caleb watched as they entered the building, their shouts echoing through the lobby. Minutes passed. Then a commotion. Elena was being led out in handcuffs, her face twisted with rage. She was screaming, her words incoherent, her eyes scanning the park until they found Caleb. "You're dead," she shrieked. "Do you hear me? You're dead. I'll destroy you. I'll destroy everything you love." Caleb didn't respond. He simply watched, his face impassive, as they shoved her into the back of a patrol car. The doors slammed, the sirens blared, and she was gone. He sat on the bench for a long moment, Lily in his arms. The children continued to play. The sun continued to shine. The world went on, indifferent to the small drama that had just unfolded. "Was that the end?" Lily asked. "It's never the end," Caleb said. "Not with them. But it's a start." He stood, adjusting the CA rire, and walked out of the park. The city sprawled before him, full of danger and opportunity. And somewhere in the distance, the echo of his sister's threats hung in the air like a promise that the courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the gallery, their pens poised, their cameras aimed at the center of the room. Caleb sat at the plaintiff's table, Lily in a small CA rire beside him, her eyes fixed on the proceedings with an attention that belied her age. H.A. Risen sat on his other side, his briefs stacked in neat piles, his expression calm and professional. Elena was at the defendant's table, her lawyers flanking her like bodyguards. She had been in custody for 2 weeks since her arrest at the building across from the park. The bail had been revoked. The charges had multiplied. She looked haggard, her once pristine appearance replaced by a gaunt, hollow shell. Her eyes root around the room, searching for allies, for sympathy. For anything she could use, she found none. Her parents were in the front row, but they sat apart from each other. Patricia's face was a mask of stone, her hands clasped in her lap. Robert Sta read straight ahead, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on nothing. They had not spoken to Caleb since the confession was released. They had not looked at him. They were ghosts at their own daughter's trial, their presence a testament to their own failures. The judge entered, a stern-faced woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. She took her seat, her gaze sweeping over the courtroom, and the murmuring died. Bailiff read the charges. The bailiff stood, his voice booming through the silence. The State of New York versus Elena H.A. Regrove. Charges include conspiracy to commit kidnapping, fraud, filing false police reports, obstruction of justice, and attempted murder. A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Attempted murder. The charge had been added after Derek's testimony revealed Elena's ultimate plan. If the kidnapping failed, she had arranged for a hit on Caleb. The SCA Red Man had been her contingency. He had been paid to ensure that Caleb never left the estate alive. Elena's face went white. She whispered something to her lawyer, her hands trembling. He shook his head, his expression grim. The prosecution opened with a relentless barrage of evidence. The recording, Derek's testimony, the financial records showing payments to the SCA Redman, the text messages between Elena and her accomplices, the signed custody papers that proved she had abandoned Lily, the nanny's statement, the police reports. The trail of lies and manipulation was laid bare for the entire world to see. Caleb listened to it all, his face impassive. He felt no satisfaction, no triumph, just a cold, steady resolve. This was not a victory. It was a necessity, a reckoning that had been years in the making. Elena's lawyers fought back. They called her a victim of circumstance. They painted her as a desperate young woman driven to extremes by a manipulative brother. They tried to discredit the recording, claiming it was doctored. They attacked Derek's credibility, calling him a jilted lover seeking revenge. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for only 2 hours. When they filed back in, their faces were grim, their eyes avoiding Elena's desperate gaze. On the charge of conspiracy to commit kidnapping, the foreman read, "We find the defendant guilty." Elena let out a strangled cry. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of filing false police reports, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of attempted murder, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled to file their stories. The gallery buzzed with whispered commentary. Elena's mother broke down, her sobs audible even over the noise. Robert sat frozen, his face a mask of shock. The judge banged her gavel. "Order! Order in the court!" The room fell silent. Elena was crying now, her composure shattered. She looked at her parents, but they didn't meet her eyes. She looked at her lawyers, but they were already packing their briefs. She looked at Caleb. He met her gaze. There was no anger in his eyes, no hatred, just a quiet, unyielding calm. He had won. Not because he had wanted to, but because he had to, because she had left him no choice. "Sentencing will be held in 2 weeks," the judge said. "The defendant is remanded to custody until that time. Bail is revoked. Court is adjourned." The gavel fell. The bailiff led Elena away, her feet dragging, her sobs echoing off the walls. The reporters SWA remed the exits, their voices a cacophony of questions and speculation. H.A. Risen leaned over to Caleb. "That went well. About as well as we could have hoped." Caleb didn't respond. He was looking at his parents. Patricia had risen from her seat, her face pale, her steps unsteady. Robert was beside her, his hand on her elbow, his eyes fixed on Caleb. They walked toward him, their expressions unreadable. "Caleb," Patricia said, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." "About what?" Caleb asked. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "About everything," Robert said. "About your sister. About what we did. About what we said." Caleb looked at them for a long moment. He saw the guilt in their eyes, the shame, the desperate need to make amends. But he also saw the years of neglect, the years of favoritism, the years of being cast aside while Elena was celebrated. "There's nothing to talk about," Caleb said. "You made your choice. You chose her. You chose her over me, over Lily, over the truth." Patricia reached out, her hand trembling. "Please, Caleb, we're your parents. We love you." "No," Caleb said, stepping back. "You love what I can give you. You love the idea of a son who fixes your mistakes. But you don't love me. You never did." He turned away from them, Lily in his arms. He walked through the courtroom, past the reporters, past the security guards, past the chaos of the aftermath. The sun was setting outside the courthouse doors, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. He found a bench in the plaza and sat down, Lily on his lap. She was quiet, her eyes fixed on him. "They're not done," she said. Your parents. They'll try again. They'll try to get you back. I know, Caleb said. But it doesn't matter. I'm done with them. What about the estate? Lily asked. What about the money? None of it matters, Caleb said. Not the money. Not the house. Not any of it. The only thing that matters is you. And you're safe. That's all I ever wanted. Lily was silent for a long moment. Then she reached up, her tiny hand brushing against his cheek. Her voice, when it came, was soft, almost tender. Grandfather was right about you. He said you were the only one who understood. The only one who would protect me. He was proud of you. I'm proud of you. Caleb felt a lump form in his throat. He blinked, his eyes stinging. Thank you, Lily. She smiled, that strange, knowing smile. We're not done yet. There's still Derek. He got immunity. But he's not going to stay quiet. He's going to try to take me. He thinks he can get the money through me. He's already planning. Caleb's jaw tightened. Then we'll be ready. We'll always be ready. He stood, Lily in his ARMS, and walked into the fading light. The city sprawled before him, full of shadows and dangers. But he felt no fear. He had faced his family. He had faced the law. He had faced the worst of humanity, and he had survived. The war was not over, but he had won the battle. And as long as Lily was in his ARMS, he would keep fighting. He would protect her. He would protect what his grandfather had trusted him to protect. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the streetlights flickered to life. Caleb walked into the gathering d'Arc, his steps steady, his resolve unbroken. Behind him, the courthouse stood silent, a monument to the justice he had fought for and won. And in the distance, somewhere in the city, Derek was waiting. Elena was plotting. The Grove family was crumbling. But Caleb didn't look back. He only looked four-way road. To the future. To the fight. To the next battle that was already beginning to take shape. Caleb walked through the empty streets, Lily cradled against his chest. The city hummed around him, indifferent to the war he had just survived. The courthouse lights faded behind him, swallowed by the growing d'Arc. He found a small diner on a corner, its neon sign flickering, its windows streaked with condensation. He pushed through the door and slid into a booth near the back. The waitress brought him coffee, her eyes lingering on the baby with a curious smile. He ignored her gaze, his focus fixed on the window, on the street beyond. Lily stirred in his ARMS. Her eyes opened, those ancient, knowing eyes. They're coming. Caleb didn't flinch. Derek? And your mother. She's with him. They've formed an alliance. They think if they work together, they can still get to the money. They think they can still take me. Caleb took a sip of his coffee. His hand was steady. His heart was cold. Let them come. They've already found you. There are 2 cars parked down the block. Derek is in one. Your mother is in the other. They're waiting for you to leave. Caleb set down the cup and looked at Lily. What do you see? I see them arguing, Lily said. They don't trust each other. They're SCA red. They know the police are watching them. They know they're running out of time. They're going to make a desperate move. Caleb reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He didn't dial a number. He simply placed it on the table, the screen d'Arc, the microphone active. The call had been connected for 5 minutes. On the other end, H.A. Risen's voice was silent, but his ARS were open, and his fingers were already typing. Let's end this, Caleb said. He stood, Lily in his ARMS, and walked to the diner door. He pushed it open and stepped into the night. The street was empty, but he could see them now. 2 cars, parked at opposite ends of the block. Shadows moved inside them. Caleb walked to the center of the street and stopped. He waited. The doors opened. Derek emerged from one car, his face pale, his hands empty but trembling. Patricia climbed out of the other, her eyes wild, her PRless catching the streetlight. You think you can take her from me? Caleb called out, his voice echoing in the silence. You think you can win? Derek stepped four-way road. The money is mine. It was always supposed to be mine. Patricia laughed, a bitter sound. Don't lie to yourself, Derek. You're a pawn. Just like me. Just like all of us. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here to offer you a deal, Caleb. A way out. Give me the baby, and I'll make sure you walk away free. Caleb Sta read at her. He felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just the cold, hard certainty that she had finally shown him her true face. I have nothing to say to you, he said. And Lily is not going anywhere with either of you. The siren's Sta route then. Red and blue lights flooded the street. Patrol cars converged from every direction, boxing in Derek and Patricia. Officers poured out, their guns drawn. H.A. Risen stepped out of a black sedan, his face calm, his phone still pressed to his ear. You're under arrest, he said. Both of you. Derek dropped to his knees. Patricia screamed, her composure gone, her RMS flailing as the officers cuffed her. Caleb watched them being dragged away, their protests fading into the night. He turned and walked back into the diner, Lily in his ARMS. She was quiet, her eyes closed, her breath soft and even. Now what? She asked. Caleb sat down in the booth and looked out the window. The street was empty now, the sirens fading, the night settling back into silence. Now we wait, he said. Now we see who else comes for us. He took a sip of his coffee. The future was uncertain. The road ahead to arcane and full of danger. But he was ready. He would always be ready.